I have one thing that I would like to start with that has caught my attention, and that is because all the time through the last years, I have been very careful to ask everybody who fade to hold their eyes open. You all know that I have been very strict about that.
Mm.
And I have now, because when you hold your eyes open and concentrate on the structure of a thing, that might be the blue or the green or a flower or whatever, then you enter the element, the structural body or the elemental body or elemental realm, which has to do with the structure of a thing. And that is why it is so important, because if you can fade in also the etheric body, or you can fade in the astral. And what if you fade in the etheric, then you venture on this path that Rudolf Steiner described in the 19 lessons. That is based on the etheric body. And at that time, 100 years ago, it was the etheric who was the possibility to get into the spiritual world, because the elemental world was partly closed, and um, the door, you have the astral, the door of death, you could move on, but that path of the etheric that leads to the door of the sun was absolutely the most preferable 100 years ago. So what I have been doing lately, and that is fading into the astral, which leads to the door of death. And then it comes to a quite interesting experience. And I will just describe what is written in the Gospel of John around the chapter of 10. That is that Jesus and his disciples, they were in Bethsaida, and then he decided to go to Jerusalem. And he knew, of course, what was waiting for him there. And so when they left Bethsaida, that was the start of his path of death. So the first thing, and you remember this is Easter, just before Easter. And at that time, there are no, no physical figs on the fig tree. So the first thing that happened when Jesus and the disciples went out from Bethsaida on their way to Jerusalem was, and it's written, he got hungry, which is quite strange, because here he is on his way to to death, and they write he got hungry. And then he saw a fig tree, and there were no figs on it. And then he cursed this tree, so it never should bear figs again. And of course, this was just before Easter, and there are no figs in the fig tree at that time. So he wouldn't find any physical figs. So he cursed a tree for not carrying a fruit that it couldn't have been carrying at that time. And when you then fade on this path to the door of death, which I started to do a few weeks ago, just to have some other, not only the path of the elements. Then the first very strong imagination or impression is figs, are figs. So, and then I was viewing this imagination of figs for weeks, and I was asking around on the internet, on Facebook for the anthroposophy group, what are the significance of the figs itself? And these figs, they got more and more alive. They started as dried out figs, and they got more and more alive. And then I thought also then to sit under the fig tree is an expression for at a certain stage when you are traveling towards the spiritual, and also a place that the bodhisattva, they often sit under the fig tree. And they call it the Bodhi tree. So, of course, I went into the Wikipedia and to check out what the Bodhi tree is. And it is a fig tree. So they say the same in India, the same in Israel. And that is the beginning of the path towards the door of death. And that has more and more interested me because I have written so much, 3-4 books about the path of the elements, and have had 13, 12 workshops with you. So I try to look into other paths. And then you also have what Rudolf Steiner said, that you have to go through all the doors, not only one, because we are working now with one door, the door of the elements, and then we should also try to work with the other doors. And the key to walk on these other doors, the key to walk on the door of the elements is to study a physical thing, the structure of a physical thing. Then you come into what is called the physical body, the physical element, not the material, but the physical. And that is the same as the elemental. If you fade with or through or by the help of the astral body, then you start to move on the path to the door of death. And exactly when Jesus was starting on his path to his death, then he took this fig tree and wanted it to have fruits, which there is on, if you do this correctly, it seems, it should have then fruits. Well, that is what I mentioned this because now I understand why I was so strict about holding the eyes open, because if you didn't hold the eyes open, then you didn't venture on the path of the elements. You see, that is quite obvious. Then let you say that you shut your eyes, then you can come into the astral or the etheric. And then you venture on quite different paths. So the path for the astral, if you come into that, leads to the door of death. If you venture through the etheric, you come to the door of the sun. If you venture on the path on the elemental body, then you come to the door of the elements. So this last since last time, these last 2 months have been quite it's cleared up why how you can sort of differ between the different paths, at least 3 of the paths, and that they find resonance in what others have written and also what it is referred to in the Bible. So, saying that, and how does it go with your fading with open eyes on the path of the elements to the door of the elements? That is my question to you. Or any questions about what I just described?
So, dear friends, do you know how to raise your hands, right? So Jordan, sorry.
Hello. Can you see me?
Yes, yes.
So when I travel through the elemental world to the guardian Vidar, and I stand in front of the 4 doors, it's from that place that I decide what door that I'm going to approach, and my eyes are still open. And so when, like this past week, when I chose that I was going to walk through the doorway of death again, um, I'm not exactly sure like how I would start moving with like a different body. Like I don't have that like concept really of me like spinning from that point. Like it's not a conscious thing. So I'm curious if like, do you arrive like at the 4 doors and then like you choose to move with a different body? Because it's more of like an intention and a will thing for me, where if I'm like willing to go through that door, then I do, you know? So I'm curious if that's what you experience, or is it like, are you choosing the moment that you fade to go to that door? Like, do you travel to the 4 doors and then choose your path? Because that's kind of what I've been doing.
I get your question. Can I say something
Yes,
about it?
yes.
And that is also that has been also more clear for me the last 2 months. That is, when you have reached a door, for example, the door of the elements, which I can speak of, then you have the possibility of standing in front of all the 4 doors or the single doors. And then you can receive teaching from the guardians of the different doors. But you cannot go through the doors. To go through a door, then you have to go the path. Then you have to start at the beginning. If you start at the beginning with the element, you can go through the elemental door and further into the etheric world, or further the volcanic. If you go through the path of death, then you can reach and go through the door of death. So there is a huge difference between walking the path or just receiving the teaching or impressions from the guardians.
Mm. Yeah, I'm curious because, and this is what I wanted to ask you about, because when I walked through the door and saw, well, I saw the 3 guardians first, and I saw them as a spinner, a weaver, and a cutter, or maybe you could say a maiden, a mother, and a crone. And it was clear to me that the crone was the one that wanted to share something with me. So I allowed the crone to take me further into the doorway of death, and she began to try to show me she was trying to show me a past life, but I wasn't it took me a while to pierce through. It was like I had to like travel further than I had gone before and able to for me to be able to actually see what she was trying to show me.
Mm.
And so I sat there for a bit, um, really trying to pierce through what she was trying to show me. It was like, it was almost like it was behind this veil. And so I just asked her, I was like, okay, what is preventing me from being able to see this, this past life at this time? And she said, you have to remove the mask. And I was like, okay. Um, what mask do I need to remove? And it took time, and I felt like the mask was removed after time, and then I was able to penetrate farther into what she was showing me into that past life. And then she showed me two past lives, and it was like very clear, two of the people that she showed me in each of these lives, like what I'm experiencing in this life related to that life. Um, and it does feel related to karma. And
Oh yeah.
so after that experience, when I came out of it, is when I, like, within a couple of hours fell very ill, like I got very sick. And that's when you helped me, and we found that there was a xeric being in the right side of my heart. And I came down like my throat, I was like only on the right side, very sick. And it's taken me, like, I'm on the other side of it now, and I'm more of like in an integration phase of the experience. But what I wanted to ask today was, I think I'm just having a hard time, like I almost feel like I've done something wrong, like that's my initial feeling, is like I've like traveled wrong, or that's what I'm putting on myself, that I did it wrong. But and I think it's because I don't have the background in what a lot of people have come here with, like in understanding Rudolf Steiner's literature in a deeper level. And so what I end up doing is I travel, and then I kind of like search for more information after I've traveled to try to fill in the experiences I'm having. But I'm just curious your perspective on that, like especially through the doorway of death. Does this feel like something that is like part of the initiation, where we'll come up with these kind of like illnesses, or like how did this turn into like a pathological xeric being that ended up, presenting, and then me getting really sick from the situation? So that's what I wanted to share today, and kind of what I'm, going through right now with this integration process of what I experienced. And also, like, maybe I just moved too quickly too. Like I didn't necessarily feel like I was walking a path like I did the first time that I walked through the path of the elementals, but it was very clear that I was in the doorway of death, or past the doorway of death, through this experience.
So, so your question is,
So my question is, like, is this something that like I picked up, or would this be more of something like, part of the initiation of the process of going through something like the doorway of death?
well, I must say, Rudolf Steiner say several times that fear is one of the greatest hindrances on these paths in plural to the spiritual world. He probably said path, but I will say paths to the spiritual world. And uh, why should we feel fear? That is because we meet we meet situations that might frighten us. So we meet through the path of the elements, we meet the Asuric and Luciferic and Ahrimanic, even demons. And also, this might cause us to feel unwell for some time, or I think that is something we cannot walk this path without any uncomfort. And it is this uncomfort that gives us a fear. And if there were a totally non-problematic path, why should Rudolf Steiner again and again say that that the fear will stop us? So I think we just have to know that Christ is the only sort of path. He is on all paths to the spiritual world, and we must put our lives in also his hands. That is how I deal with it. And I think that is the right way to deal with it. And not feel fear. They cannot hurt. Well, of course they can hurt, and our fear can hurt us, but not really. Look at the picture of the holy, what was his name? The one who was attacked by all the demons, Hieronymus, Saint, this man. I have all this.
Jerome, Saint Jerome.
Yes. And if he had been afraid there in this this situation, he would have died from fear.
Okay, yeah, I haven't thought of it in that way. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, that both of us has now occupied ourselves with the path of death.
Yeah.
You cannot stay only with the path of the elements, which I have stayed with too many years, maybe. So I'm very happy to be happy to be on the path of death.
That was the thing. It's like so before, I can't remember like when our last meeting was because it feels like so long ago, but it was the summer last year, I think, that I was doing the same thing, and the same thing happened. I got sick, or like what I perceived as sickness, but it does feel more of like, an initiation than anything else. And it was very clear that I was supposed to be doing that again before this.
We go now to other questions.
Yes.
Maybe I'll have other questions.
All right, thank you very much. So Timo is next.
I think Bonnie had her hand up or before me, but I don't know if she.
Bunny decided just
Oh, okay.
speak later,
Well,
probably.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't take my hand down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
So
Please go ahead.
okay. I mean, if Timo is all right, so Bunny, go ahead. Bunny.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, I mean, this time of year, we are actually on that path to Easter. What I wanted to bring up was, Ari, I don't see you, Ari. Where are you? Anyway, so I was wondering about what the relationship is, or if there is a relationship of the ex deo nascimur in Christo morimur per spiritum sanctum revivissimos, if that has to do with the doors. That was one thing. And I haven't been working with the gate of the door of death, but last night I dreamed of a fig, that I was opening the fig and just looking at the flesh and the seeds. And I mean, in waking life, I actually can't eat figs because of a medical, allergy that I have. But my question is that, Ari, what do you think about that? Is that an indication that it's like a go ahead and work with the door of death? It's okay.
Yeah. Well, I personally think now more and more that this imagination of being under or by a fig tree and figs. I think the figs are the important thing. It seems to me that that is starting of the path to the door of death. So this figs, I think the figs resemble some sort of spiritual sense organ, but I'm not sure which. Maybe any of you can tell me something about figs in a spiritual way. You know, this Bodhisattva sat under the Bodhi tree, and Nathaniel sat under also the fig tree in the Gospels. And before, I always thought that it was a fig tree that was important, but more and more now I think that it is the figs that are important. And also that in John 10, I think, that Jesus saw a fig tree when he started on his road to Jerusalem, and he found no figs on it, and then he cursed the tree. I mean, it's cursing a tree in a season where there should be no figs. That is just, it relates to, of course, supersensible figs. And if there are no figs, then it doesn't do its work. So I think the figs are important. So that is a homework you all must do next time. Try to fade into the path to the door of death and try to find out what are the figs.
And my other question about the three, the spirit and
Yeah,
yeah. So,
no, I cannot answer that in relation to these paths.
okay.
Otherwise, that all the path, especially the path on the door to the door of death, is somehow also a dying process that is helped by Christ. So also that we die in Christ. That I think relates to that path, but I'm not sure. But that was, that was the old path. That was the most important path in all times. The door of death was the important, not the door of the sun, not the door of the elements. That is long, long time ago. Not the door of light. It was the door of death, and that is that we die, and we need the help of Christ on that path. So we, in a way, die in Christ, and then when we reach the gate, then we are sort of rejuvenated.
Revisionist.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and the cursing the fig tree, basically saying the figs die figs. So it is about death too.
Yes.
Saying the figs shall die. So
I think there is a deep secret with these figs that I really work with every day now to find out. And I try to ask everybody I know, but nobody have a very good answer. But somebody, maybe Steiner, have said something about figs somewhere that I am not aware of.
Thank you, Ari.
Okay. Thank you. So Timo is next.
Thanks. So I wanted to share this like little experience related to what Jordan said and also like in general. So This one time I was like exercising fading, and I could kind of get this feeling of being on threshold, but not being able to kind of move or advance in any way. And I asked myself, like, what's holding me back? What's this thing? And I get the feel of fear, that the fear kind of surrounds and blocks me from moving. So I was kind of at loss what to do. So I remembered like reading this Judith von Halle's The Inner Word, or like translation of it. So I turned within my attention and asked like for Christ to give me courage. And I get immediately this warm sensation in my back. So then I decided that I will not continue anymore at this time. And like it was the next night or night after that, I saw this incredible dream where I was in this kind of room, and there was this wall I could not bear to look, but there was something destructive and very frightening kind of emanating from it. And I was kind of forced to still approach it, and I eventually could get a glimpse of this wall with a huge eye and grasping hands and terrifying things. And I inched closer and I managed to touch it, and then it just kind of lost all the fear, and there was just something, bit of a light, and I woke up into this sensation that there was no fear in me anymore, but the fear kind of surrounded me and was fading away. So yeah, I guess you can always ask help.
Yes, and I think we all have to sort of deal with that fear that at some we will on this spiritual path be stopped by fear. And as I told you some workshops ago, the way I dealt with it was I was 11 or 10, 11, and I wrote in my diary, that was in 1962, that I have to get rid of this fear. And then I found out I had to face it. So I stood up 12 o'clock in night. My parents were sleeping. We were living up in the forest or forest area. So I went into the very dark forest and said loud, if there are anything that I should fear, come now and take me. And then I stood waiting. Nothing came. And after that, I have not actually been afraid. So, and what you did, you touched it. To be aware of it, to say it, to challenge it. I think we must challenge the fear. If we do not do that, we are sort of stuck. Either so on any way, any path we are on.
Yeah, I also had a
Why
question.
you again and again say that the fear is the number one hindrance to getting into the spiritual.
Yeah. If I made an actual question I had like about the when like kind of concentrating, when fading, it's a question of like the perception and color, because sometimes kind of when I concentrate, there's a certain way to concentrate. For example, if I look at the wall, or like I'm in a dark room and there is this like things start to kind of bubble, there's movement. But in one way, when I concentrate, there's also kind of, there can be webs of color. But if I concentrate another way, this color disappears, but the movement stays. And there's one way to also concentrate when there's kind of formed this middle ground in the perception, where there can be more kind of something else that can be colorful. So my question is like, if I can kind of perceive color, if there is the sensation of color, is it kind of, am I going into wrong direction since there has been this talk about the elemental world being non-colorful or?
Usually, if what you see is colored, you are not on the elemental path. Then you fade in the astral. That is the usual.
Yeah.
So I think I
Seems-
just can say that.
Yeah, but it's not only color, there's like texture and movement and color.
Yeah, but
So-
even the color, the most interesting, when you go through the elemental world, there is an extraordinary lack of color.
Yeah, so I would take it as a suggestion that I'm probably taking too much of the astrality and
Yes.
trying to kind of focus on the non-colorful bits.
Yes, I think that is right.
Okay, I guess that's everything from me. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So, Chris.
Oh, did you say me, Andre?
Yes, yes, go ahead, please. Mhm.
I was bringing a question about the doors, so I was very interested to hear, Ari, that you were talking about the doors, but you brought the figs, and a childhood friend of mine is an artist, Jane Byers, and she created, must be 15 years ago, a series of artworks cast in bronze and etchings, copperplate etchings, with books opening, the pages disintegrating, and figs growing out of the book.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I bought one of the etchings, and that was a long time ago, and I sold it to a client. You know, I'm an interior designer. And I was just there in Florida with my client, and she brought this image, this artwork out of a guest bedroom and said, can we put this somewhere more prominent? That was like 2 weeks ago. And here you are talking of figs. So I might ask Jane what was her image in working with the fig. Well, I asked her at the time, and she said the book of knowledge has to sort of break down in order to grow into something alive. So that was her, but to have life out of the book, she used fig, and the bronzes were beautiful. The fig had roots that were tendrils going down, forming the legs. And then the books were up about, I don't know, 3 feet, 4 feet off the ground in bronze.
Maybe you could send me a picture of that.
I will, yes. Yeah, I can.
Thank you.
And then in preparation for this, I thought, okay, do a major work. And I have a rose quartz point. And I find this really helpful for traveling. So I wanted to share that. This time I felt that I should have all my fingers touching it and use this to travel. And it's really helpful for me to actually have an object, a pointy object like this, a rose quartz. And I was going from the heart. I've been working at activating my heart more and more, using love to understand. I'm using it for memory. If I can't remember someone's name, I picture them and shoot love at them and their name comes up. So I'm finding that I need more love. I can be cool Nordic. So I took the rose quartz, and it's amazing for traveling. And holding it like this and saying, I'm okay, keep going, because you go through all of this stuff. And I paid no attention to what I was going through. My attention was on the point and traveling. And then I came to Vidar and I asked him for, a message. And he said, and I said, I need to open my heart more. And he said, go into your music. Go into your music. So I was feeling the see if I could tune into where there's music within my body, whatever that was. And then I got to the doors. And I looked up and down the doors, and I looked at that door of death, and I thought, no. I looked at the royal door, no. And I've been trying to connect with Rudolf Steiner in, I hate the term real time, but where is he right now? And like you, Ari, I like to feel that anthroposophy is a growing element. We can't just read from the past. We have to be actively working in it and seeing where it's leading right now. So I've been trying to connect with him. So I thought, oh, good, I'm at the doors. Which door goes to Rudolf Steiner? And you know what happened? Got lifted straight up. Away from all, none of the doors opened, and I moved straight up. And as you're talking, I'm thinking, I entered through the door of the elements. Could it have been that that was the wrong approach? Anyway, that was my experience. I got lifted up out of the hallway where the doors are straight up, and I experienced him as a very large eye. And then I traveled through the iris of the eye and was trying to stay alert and find where I was going through the iris of the eye. But that was more of a traveling, and I'm not sure I got to the end of that one. But what do you think of that? Which door is the current? This is my question to you. Rudolf Steiner he said he was going to be incarnated right now, but whether he's within a physical body or actively present, and I would think that leaders of mankind like that are more or less omnipresent. Have you a feeling of which approach, which door one might find him behind? That's my question.
I don't know, but I think he is present, physically present now. So so that is no door, sort of. So you are right.
So it was just lifted out of the doors and just to a
It
presence.
is not behind any door, I think.
Okay, good. Right then.
He is in the physical world, the material world, not in the etheric world just now, I think.
Thank you. That's more or less a confirmation of the experience I had, and what I've been feeling is that where is he? I don't know that he's wanting to step forward and announce himself.
No, probably not.
It's
Probably
very
not.
dangerous times to do something like that. Good, thank you.
Thank you, Lois. So, Philippa?
Hello, hi.
Hello.
It just occurred to me, Ari, that it was a fig leaf, wasn't it, that Adam and Eve used to hide their nakedness in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, that is also right, yes. That
Oh,
is a leaf. That is a leaf.
Yes, so it's obviously a very special tree.
Obviously, more than I have thought, yes.
That fig leaf.
Leaf is important, the tree is important, and the figs are important.
Yeah, so there must be something very special about the fig tree. I'll do some research on that.
Good.
And the other thing is, you haven't mentioned the door of light today.
No, I haven't done that today. Because last weeks I have been working only exclusively with the path of death.
Okay. So the path of death doesn't lead to the door of light.
No, the path of death leads to the door of death.
Okay. All right. So you're not going to say any more about the door of light?
No, I only say what I have no, I haven't anything to say about that.
Okay, thank you.
At least not today. Maybe another time.
Okay, thank you.
But I am really working with the path and the door of death.
Okay.
That doesn't mean I'm going to die. Although I had a very encounter with an axe
Oh. Oh. Oh, horrible. Ugh.
The and I luckily I have a one-hand stitch machine, so I stitched it, and then the bleeding stopped. So that was a little on the path of death. Yeah.
So, Philip, are we good? Okay. Elise is next.
Hello.
Uh,
I just want to share a couple of things that are, I feel very connected to what you're talking about, Audrey. I wouldn't say I have any specific answers, but there is a harmony in my experiences and what you're describing. So that's quite wonderful because it's fairly unusual, the sort of complexity of all the different things. Maybe the first thing I'll say is, which I thought was very interesting, is I was in a dream recently where I was lucid and I was doing the Christianizing in my dream of the going in and then opening up the space and then in Jesus Christ love 3 times with the St. Thomas cross. And I thought when I woke up, I thought that was quite interesting because I haven't been doing that much in my waking life in the last few months. So I found that a bit unexpected to find that in my dream. With regard to the fig, there is an author, Alif Shafak, who's a British Turkish author who wrote a book called The Island of Missing Trees. And one of the characters is a fig tree. And I have been doing research with trees globally for about 14 years. And in 2015, I was with some trees, very, very old fig trees in Mijas in Spain. And these are the drawings. These are the drawings that came through those trees. I don't know if you can see them very well.
Yes,
That's one of them.
Well done. Yeah.
Yeah, I can try to email this to you.
Yes, that is very much that I like.
And then this was the tree next to it. There were 3 trees in a row. I can email you images of these. I don't have them at hand, but I can send them to you by email. And so
Yeah.
all through the Holy Nights, I've been asking this question of the fig, my experience with the figs. And I was going to try to write to her, and I was actually going to send her these images because I've never read a book before where a tree is actually a character. And I have been working, as I said, with trees for almost, 14 years at this point. But anyway, the other part that is in harmony with what you're saying is that I decided after the Holy Nights to start reading aloud to the dead again, which I did some years ago and haven't since. So every night I invite about 50 people I know on the other side of that I've known them, for various ways over my lifetime. And I've been reading Steiner, and most recently I'm reading the lectures from the Interior of the Earth. And I'm finding it somehow connected, especially this, you call it the fire earth, which is I think the 6th layer. This question of Ahriman in relationship to evil and structure. So I don't have anything more to say, except that it is astonishing to me that all of those themes are weaving through what I feel called to do, and I'm following it. I don't have anything more I can say about it, except that when you started saying all those things, I felt I needed to say it, if only to hear for myself and maybe for others who are on this call, there is this global connectedness that is real. And I don't always understand it, but I trust it. And so I wanted to share that just to increase the what we know of each other in terms of this mystery we're in. But the door of death has been at the center for me as well, very much so.
Wow. So there are more working with this path of death and door of death. Very interesting. Thank you, Elise.
Thank you. Sue is next. Sue.
Sorry, I'm on my phone and it's not cooperating very well. I just wanted to make a few comments on the fig tree and evolution of time, the turning point of time with the mystery of Golgotha, and the resurrection of Christ and his return in the etheric, and the fear we face when we enter the door or approach the doors or enter the doors. And Buddha, so in evolution, Buddha achieved enlightenment under the fig tree, and Christ came after Buddha. And this time you speak about in the Gospel of John is right before the Passiontide, right before the mystery, before his sacrifice on Golgotha. And the fruit is missing. The fruit is not there. He's come to bring the fruit of the spiritual world to mankind and the earth. It's not here. It's not received yet. It's not in bloom. And he's about to do that in the next week and beyond. So that's why I think that's my association with the lack of fruit on the tree, and that the fruit is the spiritual, we all need to reap the fruits of our lives before, ideally, we cultivate that during our life and take it with us across the threshold and bring it into the next lifetime. So Christ was sacrificed, crucified, and then he descended to the mother in the heart of the earth and received his resurrection body and came back in his resurrection body, not to be touched for, I don't know, it was 3 or 7 days, but he didn't let Mary Magdalene touch him when she first saw him in the garden. And as a gardener, as someone cultivating the earth, and then she recognized his voice. So, but then later he let doubting Thomas put his hand into his, he had pulled his resurrection forces enough together that he could allow to be touched by doubting Thomas. I'm gonna wrap it up here, but the point, my real point I want to just share with this group is Christ, among many things, said, I am with you until the end of time. And and this death thing. So before he came and sacrificed, humanity was on this hamster wheel of samsara, of just death and not resurrecting. And when during the earthquake after his crucifixion, all those ghosts were released from the earth, and the saints walked and the specters walked the earth, and he gave us new life. He is still with us in the resurrection body. We can all tune into that. But he changed, this was the turning point of time. He gave us a new relationship with death. And as we're in this time of descent through the 9 subearthly spheres, we can only go there with him, or we will be eaten alive, burned alive. We have to do this work with the power of Christ, in the grace of Christ, in faith and love and unity with him, in order to, this is where Judith von Halle talks about returning to the Logos, where we all have the seed of Christ in us. That was his gift. And we're working to return to that unity. So that's what I needed to share today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Monique is next.
Okay, I'm just, that was beautiful. I wanted to share, going back to when you asked how is it going, how it was going in my path, because I'm not sure. Anyhow, I'll just share. I was doing the exercise where you come out from this part and fading and seeing almost like a static, like, on a TV screen, you see like a lot of static. If I would do it in the sky, it would look like almost like a swarm of bees far away. So I was fading and I was having that experience regularly. And then a family friend, a neighbor that I had since I was 3 years old, and she was in her 80s. She passed away beginning of December, and I went to her service, and it redirected so much, because when I was at the service, they did, I don't know if you're familiar with the rosary, and I went and we did that, and I came home, and then I had this feeling to pray for her, for her, and the rosary for her. So I went to find my grandmothers when I was a child, before they passed, gave me these rosaries, and I went and I found them in a jewelry box. And I realized I had one from both of my grandmothers, these old rosaries. So I thought, oh, wow, these are from both of my grandmothers who both passed. That's special. I went to find a little dish to put the rosaries in. And when I went to find the little dish, I found this little prayer sitting underneath the dish, and it was of Santa Anna, the patron of grandmothers, mother, child. Anyhow, there was a little prayer, and I just thought, and it wasn't related. I just went to go find a little dish, and I had this little wooden prayer, and I went to put it on my table, and on the table where I just happened to put it, I had this little image of of Saint Anne with Mary with the Christ child, like, anyhow. And then when I started doing the rosary, and I all of a sudden, it was like the rosary was Mary, but behind Mary, it was like a door, like she was a door. And then behind her was Anna. It was like almost like these, I can't explain, but it was like she was a gate to Anna. And somehow I felt like my grandmothers had helped me get to this place, but also through Mary, the Sophia, I had this experience of, and the Nathan child in the Bible is the pure soul from before the fall. And that Mary also, one of the Marys was also this pure soul. And that they were both almost like they were different, but somehow they were connected. And so ever since this experience, I'm just standing at this mystery of Mary and the Nathan child and the pure soul, and somehow connected with Anna. And I'm just sort of stuck at this place, and I don't even know, I try to do the fading, but I just keep coming back to this, like standing before this mystery of the pure souls.
Yeah. For how long time have you been
Since I could tell
called
you
stuck?
since mid-December.
Okay. Because that is quite usual that you come to a place and you feel like stuck there. But that is why you have something to do. You need time there. And I have often been stuck at places and I just wait. I just wait and wait and wait. It can take weeks or some months and then it opens.
Okay.
It's like on the path, you take a break, you sit down, you eat. Yeah.
And I just it's like a mystery and it's beautiful and I'm okay, but I'm just there.
Yes. Yes. Just
Yeah.
be there.
Okay.
That is on these paths, you will. It doesn't go steady. It doesn't go in the same pace all the time. It is very. You can stay at one place for years. Usually not years, but months.
Okay. It's been a while. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Just to be there, observe what is there, try to see what it is that you shall learn there, or see there, or develop there.
It's almost a feeling too. It's a feeling.
Yeah, but just be patient. Patience is another way, important thing. Not fear is maybe the most important, and then patience. Don't push it.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you, Malik. So Thibaut again.
Yeah, thanks. I have few questions from our practice group here at Helsinki. Can I ask them? So, is it one question is that is it like important to have like when exercising, if you, for example, your mouth opens when you concentrate, or is it like how does the kind of the physical form, like your posture, mouth open, mouth closed, does it mean anything?
I have never thought about that. I have no idea.
Okay.
No, I cannot. I have never. It may be have something to say. It might be, but I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah. Another question is like when trying to fade into an amethyst,
Oh,
and there is this sensation of something glittering or sparkly flowing upwards like a waterfall from the stone. And the question is that is this sensation of elemental quality or astralic? And I think this is a rather interesting question in the sense that how can you know if what the kind of the quality of the sensation you're having, is it of elemental or is it astralic or so forth? So
it's a very good and important question. That is why it might be difficult to, for example, when you start to fade into a plant. I started with that and I found out quite well, it took me a year or so, I guess, to find out that that is not easy because in a plant you have the elemental, you have the astral, you have, at least when it is colors in the plant, you have the etheric, and you're not sure where you are. So then I have more and more lately found a thing that has only elemental and no etheric. A dead thing, it might be a cup or sugar for that matter or something. No element, no etheric, no life, no astrality, just a physical thing. And then it's easier. to know what you see. So this amethyst, this man or woman who asked this question, try with a quartz
Mm.
and see if it is the same, and then switch to an amethyst and see the difference, and then
Yeah.
you get more an insight in what is the elemental, what is the astral.
Yeah. I remember something about, it might be in the how to attain higher knowledge or something, but there's kind of this residue of etheric in the crystals, in the quartz, for example.
Could be. So then you can try. I mean, try things, be aware, use your intellect. Okay, these things have no etheric. Okay, we see what happens here. This thing is pure astral. Let's say a cup of coffee or a gram of cocaine, if you have that. So pure astral, and then you see how that works, how you come in. And then you have also this fading in the elemental body, in the etheric body, in the astral with your consciousness. So you have different combinations. The thing you fade into can have elemental, etheric, astral properties. And when you fade, you can choose the elemental, etheric, astral path, sort of.
Yeah.
So you have to be aware of all these combinations.
Yeah, I think that's very valuable for us. Thanks.
Yeah.
That was again all from me.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Timo. Okay, dear friends, more questions? Please use this possibility.
Did you say there are no more questions?
No, I've asked if
Okay.
any more questions.
Okay.
Yes, and Bob. Okay, Bob, go ahead. Hello.
Ari, real quick, fading into the astral, in the practical workshop, you were talking about going into the astral of your hand. Is there anything you would add to that in terms of fading into the astral, or is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, as well, yes. That is a very good exercise, actually, to try to understand and to try to know the difference between the elemental, the etheric, and the astral. And this hand exercise, which I was inspired to do in England on this tour, Theodor Hundhammer, he is teaching eurythmy, and then he moves the etheric before he moved the material, sort of opposite that in sort of normal eurythmy teaching. And that made me to realize this is a very good exercise. We move the astral and not the material hand. And then we get a quite good feeling, what is the astral? Then we move the etheric, then we get a feeling, and we have to do this again and again, of course. What is the etheric? And then the elemental, and then, as a fourth, the material hand. So then we have a feeling where, through what we can fade. And when we know through what we can fade, it is also easier to know what we fade into. That is astral. Oh yes, that is astral. We can fade into that. That is etheric. That is the elemental. And then we choose this by these different paths. The astral leads us on the path to the door of death. The etheric leads us to the door of the sun. And the elemental leads us to the door of the elements.
So with that particular, I'm sorry?
Was that an answer?
Yeah, that's very helpful. I was just wondering also, in extension, the moving the astral hand is very simple and straightforward.
Yeah.
Is what's your suggestion to take that a next step on this path? That's that simple exercise and extending it a bit.
Yeah, well, the next step in that exercise is that we are not moving the hand, but we move this concentration to a place between the mouth and the heart, in the area of the pharynx, maybe larynx. And we go out there with our being, and not only the hand, but we go out with our consciousness in from this area here.
Okay. Yeah, we did that with the physical, but I didn't think to do that with the astral as well. Okay, very good.
Yeah, that is, I would say, is the next step. And then with this, you fade out, and then you merge into a thing, and then you can, an object, and then you can sort of choose if you want to merge into the elemental, the etheric, or the astral. If you have your eyes open and are aware of the structure of this object, then it sort of automatically usually goes into the elemental.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. That's why I am so say again and again, keep your eyes open and study these things, because then you enter the elemental and then you go through it.
Okay, thank you. So Jordan is next.
Yes, I had one question in regards to some work that I've been talking about on the Telegram group of something that I've been doing with the chemtrails, the spraying of the skies that is happening around us in America. I don't know if it's happening for everyone else around the world, but the planes that have been aerosol spraying the skies over the past 6 months or so, I've been working on opening the middle of the trails themselves. And initially I wasn't seeing many results, and then I had a very strong heart healing where Christ took me into my own heart and showed me what he called a secret chamber of my heart. And that healing happened in November. And after that point, I all of a sudden had a different, it seemed like a different power within me to open up these trails. And I started actually seeing it in the physical. And so I posted some videos on the Telegram group of how I've been working in this way of through the actual chamber of my heart that I had the healing from, to open these trails. And what has ultimately happened is the skies themselves have remained clear even after they come and they spray the skies. The sky will slowly, the trail will slowly disappear and the sky will remain completely clear. And it even has come to the place where the skies are opening the trails themselves. And so that feels really promising. And I'm curious if that like, which of the occultisms would that be, or is it an occultism when we're doing something like that, like opening something that feels, so physical in that way, where it's like we're actually changing something in the physical by doing this, by opening the middle and inviting in the Christ. And I've actually been able to teach one of my friends who isn't even familiar with Rudolf Steiner or Ari's work how to do this. And it took her a bit, but with There's a lot of doubt that has to be moved through, is what I've noticed, and an incredible amount of faith that is required in order for it to work. But it's quite miraculous, to be honest.
Yeah, well, now you bring in another aspect, which is another field of work I do, that is this opening of the middle and inviting Christ, and how that can change so much in both the etheric and in the elemental and in the astral. If it is working in the etheric, it is called by Rudolf Steiner hygienic occultism. But if you do that in sort of machines or cars or yeah, toxins, which obviously chemtrails should be toxic, then I think it is closer to mechanical occultism. But they don't seem, it seems to me not to be an exact line between hygienic occultism and mechanical occultism and eugenic occultism, at least the two first. I do not have much experience with the eugenic occultism at all. But the two first is very interesting because it change the toxicity of substances.
Yeah.
I had so many examples, people with alcohol. It totally changed the effect of alcohol if you have opened the middle.
Mm.
And I have, but I have never been able to do it. This thought of going downtown in some dodgy area and do that with somebody who sell heroin or something and see how that work when you open the middle. It would be very interesting to see. So and also it has, and I have practiced that also several times, it has a definite influence on the phenomenon of the sky, of northern light, of clouds, on such things. And I'm quite sure this rain dances that the American Aboriginal people can do has to do with going into this middle. But they don't, of course, bring Christ in, but they can bring other things in, of course.
Right. Great. Thank you.
And that is a work that I think is very important. And that goes parallel to, or can go parallel to your work, this group's work, of going into the spiritual through this path, because there is no they work very well together. The further you go into the spiritual, the more abilities you have to bring Christ in, because that is what we do on this path. We bring, in a way, ourselves and Christ closer together.
Yes. Yes, it's been very rewarding, I think is the best way I can describe it, because you can actually see the entire sky clear. And then you have clear skies, you don't have to deal with it, and no one comes down with terrible coughs.
I would believe that. I would believe that is possible.
Good. Thank you.
And more should work with this opening the middle and inviting Christ in many aspects, because that is so important. That is, according to Rudolf Steiner, we have to Christianize the elemental world. If we do not Christianize the elemental world within 5,000 years or 6,000 years, we will have great difficulties with the adversarial forces. because then they sort of take over the dominion of this elemental world. So being aware of the elemental world, being able to go into it, what we actually is discussing with this path through the elemental world, is very important. I think it is much more important than we think, because in that way we can enter the elemental world and we can bring Christ in if we want. And I hope that is something all of us will want and will work with, not just go there just to see what it is or experience, but to bring Christ in. And by that, change the elemental beings to become what Rudolf Steiner described as Christianized elemental beings. Yeah, I think that is good to brought in that part, because otherwise it seems that we just go there on our own curiosity. That is not, we have a task to do in the elemental world, and of course further also on all these paths we have a task to do. Otherwise we could just sit home and watch football. Now everybody know I think football is silly.
Okay, thank you. So Patty. Okay.
Hello everyone. Sorry, I haven't spoken before because it's slightly intimidating, but also very wonderful to listen. And so many amazing things were spoken of today, which I really appreciate. Because I had a question for Ari about fading into different objects and different things. Does that lead a different path, which you've kind of now explained? Because I started fading into a candle, which I felt took me to a certain place. But when I started seeing beams of light come from my pot lights in my kitchen, I felt, okay, this is something very different. And I really felt I'd entered the elemental world through the light from these pot lights. And so, but I do travel, I think, a lot in the etheric world because I see color all the time in the sky, in my house.
Astral.
Yeah, oh, sorry, in the astral, yes. So I feel like now they're merging like this. I feel like the two elemental and astral are sort of, I feel like I'm at a place where they've crossed over or something. Because I see color, but I see black and white, like close up as if I'm looking through a microscope. I'm seeing tiny, tiny moving things that are moving around and swirling around, but then I'll see color behind it or streaming above it. I'll see color. I just wondered where I was.
Yeah, what you describe is very real. I recognize what you describe. And it seems that you mix these two a little together. That is also what you suggest.
Yeah, yes.
And maybe you should try to keep them separate at this point.
Yes.
It is like when you are being taught to make food, keep the just add one thing, one spice at a time. Otherwise, it don't mix too much together.
Yes. Thank you.
Myself, when I have a very sort of scientific attitude towards most things, that is vary only one thing at a time, because then you learn this thing. Yeah, vary only one thing. Go into one thing. When you know this one thing, then you can see if you can mix things or yeah.
Yeah, and I think what's happening now is I'm fading without actually concentrating. So I can be walking in our woods here in the snow, and a shaft of light will come down, and I will now experience huge blue and rose-colored sky and I overwhelming feelings. That just happens without me actually feeling like I'm fading. Whereas when I focus on a particular object, then I feel like I'm really focused on fading, and that's when I feel I'm in the elemental world. But it's kind of happening without my.
Oh yeah. And that
Yeah.
is also for me, after when you have done this for some years, it goes sort of almost automatically. You
Yes.
fade and you then go back, you fade and then you go back. You do that all the time.
Yes, like a little
And
light can catch my eye. I feel my
yeah,
eyes totally changed somehow. I'm
yeah.
seeing things so differently. I think because I'm an artist, I felt that was my artistic eye when I was younger and I worked in the theater. I felt what I saw on the stage, what I could imagine. I felt it was my artistic eye, but now I
Hmm.
feel like it was actually it's exactly what we're doing now, like fading into a spiritual realm. That's what I've always been doing, really.
And I think that artists do that.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
and
Yes.
those artists who can really bring something from the spiritual, they are described or considered great artists.
Yes.
If you do not bring something spiritual, your art is nothing.
Nothing. And that's why for me the elemental world and really the astral world feels so familiar, because I've seen so many of these images in films or
Mm.
in theater and artwork. The
Mm.
Impressionist movement, Kandinsky, Helga af Klint, all these artists have
Oh
shown
yeah.
us that what we're seeing now, what I'm seeing through my own eyes, they had experienced already.
Yeah.
So that's very beautiful, Ari, and I want to thank you for that, because I've been working away on my own here in Canada, and so I do appreciate this community of people and you and Andre taking the time to do this for us. Thank you.
Did I meet you in Canada? No.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
At the Waldorf Academy, you came and did a workshop
Okay. Okay.
2 years ago now, I think.
Sorry that I don't remember you, but
Oh no, don't
it was so bad.
no worries. And that was a very special workshop. And when we did our first fading, you said, "Oh, let's try 20 minutes." And we thought, "Oh my God, 20 minutes? How are we going to concentrate for 20 minutes?" But you said the Europeans, oh, they'd like to do it longer, like an hour. I thought, I'll never
No.
be able to concentrate. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think I over 15 is enough. 20 is a little.
15. And at that first fading at that workshop, we were so tired after 15 minutes, we felt exhausted. And
Yeah.
now I don't feel that anymore. But at that time, it's like it took something physically out of my body to actually fade.
No, that's true. It's you get very tired of these
Yeah.
exercises.
Yes. Yes.
And at 5 o'clock, everybody is exhausted.
Yeah. Yes.
I
Very
remember
much so.
20 years ago, I was to give a workshop in America somewhere, and those who hired me said that we go on, we start at 9 and we continue to 7 in the evening, and I said that is impossible. Oh no problem here in America. We work, and you are paid till 7 o'clock. And and when we reached about 4:30, I looked out on the audience and I saw only empty eyes. And I said, "Shall we go to bed?" And everybody said, "Yes." But I was paid till 7.
Yeah. Well, that workshop with you was the beginning for me of understanding fading and merging, and that was beautiful. Even though I'd done some workshops on meditation with the Anthroposophical Society in Toronto and
Mm.
Robert McKay, and that was very beautiful too, which taught us more about knowledge of the higher worlds and soul to soul exercises. And I had been doing that for a year before I met you, and so but
Mm.
they all beautifully dovetailed together. Very beautiful.
And that is why I have made this description of packing your backpack. It is the sort of normal meditations that is gathering the tools, But then you have to take this and walk. And that is what most people misses. They just do the preparations, they sharpen the tools, they sharpen the knife, they pick up the axe and so on, but then they don't walk
Yes.
into the spiritual. That is very few actually who do that walking path. And of course,
Yes, one of the
when you die, it is good to have these tools, of course. But the point is, we should also walk before we die.
Yes, that moving forward, which one of the speakers, the young woman in America who was just talking about the sky, she mentioned it in a few workshops back about when you get to a certain point, you really have to use your will to keep moving forward. That was
Yes.
huge for me because I felt I didn't really know how to do that. Like, I didn't know what that really meant. But as soon as she said that, I thought, oh, I know what she means. Just really focus through that. And so I have been using that a lot. I've learned so much from all of you, honestly. It's been pretty profound. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Justina is next. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, hi. I wonder if it is possible that I'm either walking two paths at the same time, or if I'm not understanding them clearly. Because there's one exercise that I'm doing where I am fading, I fade with my clients, and I will very clearly see both white, what I believe is elemental beings, and I'm seeing that more and more. It's becoming so clear that we have this all around our body. And then I go on to seeing the black movements, and then I will see a face on the clothing or the leg or anything that was, it looks like a face. And so I'm wondering if I'm walking one path on the elemental beings there, and then I'm doing this other exercise where I'm seeing like I have, let's say, a question, and then I see what the beings, what the effect is within my heart, and I start to separate with them, and I start to go into larger and larger beings where I end up having experience of my higher self. I had my first one of my higher self, or I had a connection with my past lives. And I also had a connection with Mother Mary. So I'm wondering if I'm mixing them together or what's happening.
It doesn't necessarily, because what you say there is all congruent with the elemental path.
Okay.
Oh yeah. It might be that you do, but it's not obvious. I don't think it is even wrong. You can follow several paths. There is nothing wrong in it as long as you are aware, at least when you get to the doors, you will be aware. I don't think there is a huge problem there.
I don't believe that I've come to the doors yet, but I
No, I
wonder.
don't think so either. No, I don't think so, because then you know it.
Okay.
But you might be on two paths. Might not. That is difficult to say.
Mm-hmm.
But it can be both.
Okay.
But there shouldn't be a problem, actually. You're
Okay.
definitely on the elemental path.
When I'm working with people, it's very clear, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Dear friends, more questions to Ari?
All seems to be clear.
Okay, Christina. Christina, can
sorry.
you?
I'm not to see, I'm still in the car at the
Okay.
border between Germany and Switzerland. They took me out. So I had a little bit to Christianize that I come through. I started to read that thickest book of you, Ara, and you gave there the view to the book 144 of Steiner, and I was so happy that there he really said it's the door of death, but the experience of death, and then in German it's also durch das Reich der Elemente, through the elemental realms. And I was so happy to find that by Steiner. And then there is that going, seeing the sun at midnight. And then his fourth step was the lower and the higher gods. And is that related, the fourth one, to that what you see with the door of light, Christ, time karma Christ?
I must unfortunately say that this what you said was difficult to hear properly.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I stop.
Probably, are you driving?
Yes.
Yeah,
But
it was.
now I'm out of
Maybe
the
try to
highway.
maybe try to stop the car and say it again, please.
Yes. I can stop in 1 minute or so when there's nobody before me. The book of Steiner, 144. Yes? You know.
No, I don't know all the numbers by heart.
Okay, it's in the how is your book named? Final Compendium. There in the Final Compendium, you...
Oh, the Final Compendium of Spiritual Medicine, yeah.
Yeah, and you there tell about that 144.
Yes.
And then I go to that book and read that. It's only for lectures of Steiner. And he goes through that culture and how that come the door, also what we now know, door of death, and then elemental realms. You have to go through that. And that is the first time I saw that written really and said by Steiner. Not only from you, and I was totally happy
Good.
to find that. You know, and tomorrow I will be back in Alesheim and Dorna. And so to work with that knowledge, I could find that really by Steiner. It's great.
Yes, I'm happy.
And
I'm happy that you did.
yeah, really, totally. And then there is the door of sun. So the sun to see in the midnight sun. And then he said, then the fourth step is the lower gods and the higher gods. The lower gods working with physical and elemental body, and the higher gods with astral and I.
Hmm.
Has that also a relation to that fourth door of light?
Yeah, that was the question. Yes, 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 yes.
Okay. Yeah.
That is the door of light.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Great. So then I can bring that all together. And tomorrow, and I also can bring, I have some clients very coming from farming, Switzerland, in the mountains, easy people, but there one woman, she immediately understand how to Christianize. So she learned that now.
Hmm.
And I also understand that this is our turning point. And I explain that every time that they created our playground, our material earth, or hold that in the material, that we have our playground to find our, was heißt das? Freiheit.
Freedom.
Yeah. So, and now we have to thank them and to set them free of a must work for the adversarial forces.
Yes. We have to free them from their working contract with the adversarial forces.
Exactly. And that is like in the foundation stone by Steiner, it's like a promise.
Hmm.
You go with me?
And that possibility started at the turning point of time.
Yeah, exact.
First, you have the 3 verses on the elemental being, and then you have the change.
Yeah. And it's like a outspoken promise of Steiner. If then humans really listen and understand, then they will come and set you free.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And tomorrow, by the 3 blood drops.
Oh yeah, you're going there?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Thanks.
Maybe I should explain to the others what the 3 blood drops are.
Yeah. Do so.
Because that was one very important. That is when Parsifal managed to break out of the physical, the material world into the elemental world. That was he was riding in the snow, and he came to a point where there were a bird that had been attacked by a predator, a hawk or something, and 3 blood drops was in the snow. And then he faded. It's very exact described. He faded into these 3 blood drops. First one, then the second, then the third, and between each he met a sort of adversarial force that he had to fight. And last time when I was in Arlesheim, we found that spot where the 3 blood drops had been. And yeah, so this is a place you can visit when you're there. Quite close to Göttingen. Well, not that close. Okay. Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. So more questions, dear friends. Yes. Dr. Albert. Yeah, go ahead.
I still cannot find any sign on my screen to raise my hand.
That's
I'll
all right.
check it out. I'll check it out for next time, but there's definitely nothing. A happy coincidence.
Fig. Okay.
Oh, the fig.
So if you want one just before Easter, you have to come south to Australia.
Yes, of course.
It was an impulse buy today. Happy coincidence.
Yeah.
It's still summer in Australia, Penny. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. I have a problem. I'm stuck still. I can't see you now.
No.
Oh, now I can see you. Yes. I'm still stuck. I'm trying very hard to. What is that?
Dried fig.
Dried fig. Oh dear, that's a different color. So I'm trying to align myself with your work and how I might fit in best. And I'm stuck and I'm having a problem and I can't quite put my finger on it and name what the problem is. And it's got to do with the Pictish symbols and the Picts. I'm really powerfully drawn to exploring that further. And I've been sitting with it for, goodness, a long time now. And I asked you about it before, but we got sidetracked. You said that you'd been conversing with Scythianus, and the Irish said that the Picts were Scythians, that they arrived in Ireland and had no women, and the Irish lent them women, and they then settled across in what is now Scotland. Now, you said that they were also part of the Northern Mysteries, and that was a big insight for me because I'd been suspecting that for years, but I couldn't name it. But you said they were slightly different. And I'm wondering if you could possibly give me any more pointers as to how I can follow this up. There's something in it that I need to know. And if I can add just one thing to it, I'm seeing I've got 3 feet, and it's like I've got 1 foot firmly with Rudolf Steiner, and that's like the firm foundation. And then I've got a 2nd foot that's right here now, and this is the present, and that's with you. But there's a 3rd foot, and it's in the future, and I can feel it there, and it's got something to do with me and the way that I relate to your work. And so I've been stuck for ages, and I'm still sitting with it, and I'm not getting anywhere. Can you help at all?
Not at the moment. Not at the moment, sorry.
So I just keep sitting with it.
You have to sort of give more specific clues of where you are stuck.
Well, the Pictish symbols speak to me.
Yeah,
and
but
I
don't
know.
know where you're stuck.
Sorry?
That is not a good enough clue for me. I cannot know.
Okay. I can't penetrate them.
No.
I know that they are music. I know that they are the inner voice and that you access them through the sound, but I can't move past that point.
There is a phenomenon in our time, the last years, where Assyric sound elementals are blocking the spirituality in music.
Ah,
It started in the rock music.
yes.
And also when you used magnifiers and loudspeakers, I mean mechanical devices, that was very obvious for a long time. But lately, they are also now also able to block the spirituality of ordinary music, even live music, whatever. Yeah. And then I bought this book that Judith von Halle have written, Das Wort, the Word, and at least half of the first volume is dedicated to explaining the sound elemental beings, which are very powerful. They stem from Saturn. That means
Yes.
they are more or less Assyric.
Yeah.
And they have also the power to create. So she said, then also when God said, and then it happened, that was through the sound elementals. And she has several chapters on the vocal elementals and on the different kinds of sounds.
Right.
And she goes into an extreme depth. But if you feel that you are not able to go through the sounds of these pictic symbols, maybe try to open the middle there.
Okay.
Go
Right.
into the sound, go into the symbols, open the middle, invite in Christ, and see if you can come further. That is the only advice I could give on that stage.
I would certainly do that. Thank you. Yeah. Can you tell me why they're always in pairs? I think that's
spiritual beings are always in pairs.
Oh.
If you read the Bible, two angels came, and they're always two.
Okay.
That is a cosmic law. Spiritual beings are in pairs.
So that's why you've got Vidar and Boulder.
Yes.
Okay. But you speak of them singly and individually.
Yes, they are individually, but they walk in pairs. They come in pairs. The one doesn't have to say anything, but he's there.
Right. Now I'm getting somewhere, I think.
You know, girls, if they go to a dance, they always want to go with a friend, a female friend. They go couples to dance, even though they dance singularity. It's in singular.
Yeah, well, the Irish dance, it's all the
Yeah.
patterns. They dance the patterns of the well or the stones. I mean, the dance has got...
We are in pairs. We are in pairs. We like to be in pairs. Marriage is based on being a pair.
I wouldn't know about that.
No.
I'm one of those childless cat ladies. Well, I think that really helps. I'll give it a go and see what happens.
Yeah, do that and tell us next time.
I will. And I've got a very quick last practical question. I finally, after being desperately poor for a long time, I've got a little bit of money and I want to come to Europe. Would it be possible for me to physically connect up?
To what?
I want to come to Europe.
Yes, and
would it be possible for me to meet you physically, to connect?
Oh, yes, of course, you can visit.
So how do I get in touch with you? Through Andre?
You can just write me an email.
Right. Okay.
You have my email?
No.
All of you can write me an email if you want. It's very simple. It's my name, Are,
Yes.
A-R-E-T-O-E-H, A-R-E-T-H-O-R-E, Are Tore.
Oh, well, that's simple.
Yeah. At
Yes.
online.no.
Online.
Online, yeah. And
Dot
.no.
N-O.
Yeah. N-O is Norway.
Oh, right. Very good.
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful, because I've been feeling very isolated at the other end of the world, and I'd really like to meet some people if I can, and
Yes.
bring at least that connection back with me. So
Good.
I will be in touch. Thank you so much. I think today's a breakthrough.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Andre.
And then you visit Europe
Absolutely.
in the European summer then. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So you get away from the Australian winter.
Yes, I'm looking forward to the European summer.
Yeah.
It won't be too cold.
No, no, no.
Okay, dear friends. So there is a question from Denise. Carlo, Denise.
Hello. I had two questions. One was when you were talking about Parsifal and the 3 drops, there was I think I read where they said his failure was to ask the question, "What ails thee?" And that caught my attention, and I'd like a little insight into that. And then secondly, I know I'm aware we're very close to the end of time, but I wanted to talk about fading a bit because I'm new to it. I appreciated Patty's discussion, and Ari, the questions I have were, I originally started fading into plants in the daylight. You can see them back there, and I was having trouble with discerning which realm I was getting into. But then I turned to fading into a flame in the early morning when I wake up before dawn. And I had more relationship with that quickly. And I tend to listen to what everybody's saying, and I hear pieces that I'm experiencing. And one was this section. So I faded into this area, and I hadn't ever thought about that before. Was immediately drawn, and it was very geometric, very quickly. And I too, like Patty, had not experienced consciously trying to connect with my sense of will. And so I've really been enjoying doing that over the last 2 months, just reconnecting with what is that fundamental feeling of will. And so I carried that with me when I faded, because you had also said that kind of keeps you propelling forward. And so I don't know, I'll just say what I felt. I felt like I got somewhere very quickly, and it felt like they just said a pair. So there was a pair of people or beings. And I just decided I was just going to, because it was a pause, just try to fully be myself, just like full reveal, like my heart is here, I'm here. And I didn't have any questions prepared. I just said, I'm here. And there was a period of time where it was just very quiet. And then, this is so odd, but I felt like they came and put a little green wreath on my head. And in that time, I felt like I turned into a child.
Can you choose one question, please? Now you have very many.
My question basically is not a question. I just wanted to share the experience because I'm new.
Okay. Okay.
And I don't know if this is imagination or movement, so I'm just trying to explain what happened and see if if I'm on the path or if I'm getting confused and not.
Well, there is always the possibility that you are all that you make up imaginations, or even if you can have hallucinations. So that's why my whole life have been very occupied by putting myself in situations where I can evaluate the effect of what I do. And that is what you have to do. For example, when you fade, the first statistical experiments I made by fading was playing chess with my father. I have mentioned this before, I guess, because I didn't like to start. And when you have the black pawn and the white pawn in your hands, you mix them at your back, and my father did that every time. And I wanted the black, so I faded into his hands, and then I saw the black. That could have been just something that I made up, of course, but when I then chose the black 100 times after each other, which my father then commented that this is impossible statistically. You cannot choose black 100 times, literally. Then I realized that it was real. And that life gave me this because I had so many years to do it. So and I train also with cards, to see if there is red and black card, and so you have to sort of, or you can then try to do heal by open the middle and heal and see the effect of diseases. Or, I mean, there are so many things you have to, because if this is only within ourselves, it has no value. It must have a effect on the world. That is I'm very practical in many ways. So I don't
That's
care
great.
things if it hasn't a real effect.
That was my real intention why I'm here. I'm
Yeah,
new.
and then you must find situations where you can evaluate the effect of what you do. And that is different for every different person.
Be more.
Put yourself in such situations. I remember I also at university they had a very device that could measure the temperature at a point. And then I tried also to go in with my astral or the etheric in the finger stronger and then see how effect it had on the temperature. And it could raise the temperature by 2 degrees within 2 minutes. And that was also a training. I worked with this hand of activating the etheric, the elemental, or the astral with your consciousness, or blood, eye organization. And see how it had an effect on temperature. This is just things that I remember from my own life, but you have to find your way of checking out if this is for real or not. That is very important. I think we have to do this.
Thank you.
That is my really important words. You have to check yourself. Otherwise, we get just not real. I mean, then we can say whatever we want. It becomes very new agey, or I talked with Mikael the other day, you know, when people say that, I think, did they really, or is it just something they think or imagine?
That's why I like to listen to people's fading experiences, in
Yeah.
particular those who are beginning to try to
Yeah.
figure the discernment, you know, because it is quite interesting doing the plants or the crystals or my hand.
Yeah.
But
So these are things you have really to change what your goal is, change the time of day, and you have to remember what, oh, that happened last time, that happened this time. You have to have a scientific, like Steiner said also, the scientific attitude is very important in spiritual science. That's why he called it spiritual science, which of course many say that this is not a science. Because Steiner also said that in the spirit, nothing repeats itself. Nothing repeats itself. And one of the fundamental in science is that you repeat, you get the same result. If you mix two substances, you get the same result. But in spiritual, you never get the same result. So to call it spiritual science is a little difficult to defend in relation to the real sort of scientists. But still, you have to have that scientific attitude to check.
yeah, I use a lot of data in my work.
Mm.
And so I had shut that off because I was trying not to do the thinking realm very much, because I started thinking and I thought, no, don't go down the etheric realm, stay with the elemental, stop thinking. So
We have to be
think
conscious.
about how I can.
We have to be intelligent and conscious, and also think. We have to evaluate the results.
But not during the transit.
No, that's right. Afterwards, you think.
Afterwards, think. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, friends. Like Andre say, now, my friends, now we have time to. We have to find a date, maybe, for next time.
Yes. I think it's yes. Let's find out good date for the next theoretical workshop.
Is my list. Where do you know where my agenda is? Oh, it's
so Ari, we have requests from our friends from Vancouver. Just if you can avoid first Saturday of month because they have first class lesson, and they cannot join us. So, and looks like we're looking date in April, and it's not going to be April 5th if you would like to satisfy our friends in Vancouver. So, but it's going to be April 12th. So, is it good for you?
April 12th is Saturday. You want it a Sunday, you say, or Saturday?
No, Saturday. Well, Saturday is great. I think it's very good day.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but not the first Saturday because of Vancouver friends.
Oh, that's what you meant. Yeah.
Yeah. They cannot come because of first class. They like to stay with first class.
The 12th, I am teaching in London.
Oh, okay.
12th for April, so those in London here can come there.
Well, I mean, so you cannot.
We have to go to the 29th of March then.
March 29th. Well, let's do so. I mean, if you have no choice.
Yeah, because the 5th is the first, and then the 12th I'm gone, and the 19th is East. We can take, of course, Easter 19th.
Okay, so
we can take 19th of April or 29th of March. You can choose.
So what do you think, Franz? Would you like to have it? Dr. Albert, I cannot hear you. What?
29th.
29th is better.
Yeah.
So we have that hundreds years death of Steiner for the next day. Maybe you have some special events around that date? Nobody?
Well, we didn't plan anything. I think 29th, specifically for, I know you're European, Christina, but for us it will be 11 o'clock a.m. So we're fine with it in America or Canada. So, okay,
It will be also the evening before my birthday. So it's okay, we can do that.
well, I mean, I cannot see any contradiction. So it's a great way to spend your birthday, and also a celebration of Steiner life. So why not? I mean, I cannot see any contradiction. Great activity. So, I mean, let's do, Ari, I believe we decided 29th of March, and I think it's excellent.
Okay, then it is decided.
Yes, let's do this. Yeah, and Christina, where is your Olga? Olga, did you invite her?
Don't know. Maybe she didn't see the email. I had to go
All right,
over that.
just
other
check.
people.
Yeah. Okay, all right, we'll talk to you separately. Okay.
Only that Ara know it. Ara, I had contact to Olga, your Russian translator. And I offered her that she could come to the workshop, and she said that she doesn't have so much money, and
So much
arrangement.
money. Well, Christine, next time we will match. I'm paying 50%, you paying 50%, all right?
Good.
Okay, dear friends, so let's finish, and I'll see you in 2 months. We will see you. Actually, it's on in March, also in the beginning of March, it will be practicum number 3.
Oh.
I believe it will be International Women's Day, March 8th.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I think it's also great. Rosa Luxemburg and Clara Zetkin, if you remember. So they established. By the way, they've been lecturing together with Rudolf Steiner for same audience.
Yes.
Pluralistic point of view. All right, dear friends, please say big thank you to Ari, and I'll see you around.
Thanks, Ari.
Thank you, Ari.
Bye.
Bye.
Harry, we call.
Goodbye, friends.